Hey, how's it going? All right, I've been thinking about it, trying to figure out what it is that bugs me the most. Is it the Obama administration with his gun pushing that I knew long ago that that was the plan right after the Trayvon Martin shooting and how they went after guns and the the right to bear arms or the stand your ground law. Sometimes that's what I don't like when they pass a law that says you're allowed to do something that you're already allowed to do. I don't like it because then later on they can pull it back and say, well, we gave you that right and now we're changing our mind. No, it never was your power to give us that right. We already had it. So back off. A lot of the founders had that problem when they were talking about the Second Amendment. They said, listen, we already have the right to bear arms. We don't need to codify that in the Second Amendment. They felt that if you put that in there, that some people might assume that the government gave us that power and that the government can take it away, and that's not the case. But anyway, I'm sitting there thinking about it. What is it that's really bugging me the most? Something's really bothering me, and it's not, you know, the politicians that have been pushing all this gun control. I mean, it is a bother, no doubt, because these people are sworn to uphold the Constitution and to protect and defend it. But the thing that's really bothering me right now is how the media has become a cheerleader for these issues that they support. Anything that has to do with taking away rights of the law-abiding citizens seems to be their thing. And when I see it on TV, it just seems to go on and on. You've got almost every channel trying to push this sort of anti-freedom movement. Like on NBC, in the top right-hand corner, you see lean forward. Well, that's a standard communism phrase. So I found this little clip from Fox where they show what some of the media talking heads have to say about Obama's inauguration. I mean, I couldn't even watch it. It was so sick. These people are falling all over themselves. When I was growing up, the media was always looking for the scoop. They were always trying to find the information, and it seemed like that was their job. Now they run cover for the White House. It almost seems like there's a complicity between the media and the White House and the Democrats particularly. I felt a lot better when the media was attacking George Bush because that's the proper role of the media, to be adversarial towards the government, constantly looking and digging for something to make a story and to point out the mistakes of the government and hold it accountable. Now they're running cover. If somebody says, hey, look, the government's doing this and they shouldn't be doing it, well, the media runs right over and says, oh, no, that's not really what it seems to be. So anyhow, I wanted to talk about it. So let's take a little listen to this very beginning part.
Across the dial, we were treated to scenes like CNN's Jim Acosta telling Wolf Blitzer, quote, I feel like I should pinch myself right now. Or NBC's Al Roker shouting and whooping it up for the president and vice president like he was at a Mardi Gras parade. He finally did get a handshake from the vice president. And if that's not enough for you, consider this. From CNN's Tom Foreman, he concedes he has written President Obama a letter for every single day of his presidency, some 1,400 altogether. Let's talk about it with Ellen Radner, Bureau Chief for Talk Radio News Service, and Fox News contributor Jim Pinkerton, contributing editor and writer for the American Conservative magazine. Ellen, does any of this seem a little over the top to you?
Well, first of all, I don't think press should be clapping or anything else at any kind of political event. On the other hand, this was a great day for Americans, and it doesn't really matter whether it was President Bush that was inaugurated. I sat there and I said, we really do have a peaceful transfer of power, and that is something to really be said.
I don't even know what she's talking about. Where was the transfer being taken place here now? If it's a second inauguration, this president is still in office, so there is no transfer here. He stays there. Now, if he would have got up and left and let somebody else in there, that would have been something to celebrate, and that's what she's talking about. What in the hell is she talking about here?
Celebrated. So Were they celebrating this president, or were they celebrating the whole event? That's a very distinct difference.
We're going to get to treatment of President Bush in a minute, but let's talk about it, Jim. I mean, talking about this is sort of equivalent to the thrill going up Chris Matthews' leg 4 years ago. What about?
You mean when he said that he compared the president's speech to the Gettysburg Address, which is probably the greatest piece of presidential oratory in American history, and so.
Well, we know Chris Matthews is, in love with Obama. I mean, this guy can't get enough, and Obama is the savior to him. He constantly talks about him. So, what are we supposed to expect from him? He's from the MSNBC Lean Forward crew. As far as I'm concerned, they're communist. So, of course, they love everything that he does or says, because I believe that the majority of the Democrats and the administration are pretty much communist. And we were warned about this long ago, actually before I was born, that we may have communists infiltrate our government, and maybe this is what it is. I couldn't tell you because I'm not an expert at that stuff, but I can tell you right now, I understand what communism is just by reading the books, the history books. It's very clear what communism is. And this president is leading us as fast as any president ever has, I would say times 10.
This is now up there in that category. Yeah, I would put that in the thrill up my leg category. I'd also say this is a tiny little indicator of the romance that the media feel. And again, the headline of the New York Times today, Obama offers liberal vision, we must act. Then talks about climate change and gay rights, two of the media's favorite issues. But as one little indicator how things work, last night on ABC, David Muir said, we think the National Park Service says there might be 700,000 or 800,000 people here, but we talked to the Obama inaugural committee, and they told us there are 1 million. Now, let me tell you something, John. As you know, the issue of how many people show up in the mall for any event, left or right, is one of those hotly contested.
It's just the whole point. The whole point of it is that, the media has lost their ability to be unbiased and to look at things in the proper light. They're not giving us the truth, and they're avoiding issues that matter to the people. So as I said, I think my biggest concern right now is the media and how it affects the American populace, how it tries to lead people. They tell us what to think over and over and over again, and then they poll us and say, what do you think? And then they come back and they say, look, this is what you think. A perfect example is after the school shooting recently. Immediately after the shooting, the majority of the news outlets came out with lots of conversation about gun control and how to control the people that get guns, but the majority of it was about guns. They spent at least 2 weeks talking about the school shooting, and in fact, if you looked in your newspaper, pretty much every day for a month, there was something in there about this shooting, so keep it in the forefront. In fact, you'll listen to the media talking heads talking about gun control and how they're trying to get as much mileage out of this tragedy as possible, because this is one of their big issues. They need gun control because, as you know, every communist dictator in the history of the world had to take away the arms from the people who might resist. And of course, the most effective resistance tools would be guns that they are trying to take away right now. And we know that those guns are very inefficient and ineffective in crime. The majority of people that commit a crime would use a handgun, even a pistol, a revolver, rather than carrying an AR-15 into a 7-Eleven. It's such a small number. I mean, of all the murders in this country, 12,000 plus, the majority of them being gang-related between each other, so the majority of them really aren't a concern to the average American. Of those 12,000, I believe there's about 350 that are used that are rifle related, or that a rifle was used to kill the person. That's every rifle. That's not just assault rifles or so-called assault rifles. This is 22s, old hunting guns, shotguns, anything that you can imagine that's a long gun, long barrel. That's what we're talking about, in the 300 range. So they're going after all these guns because of 300 murders. We have many more murders with baseball bats and rocks and all kinds of other things. Fists kill more people than rifles. So it's very clear to me that they're not interested in keeping people safe. They're more interested in taking away the people's power. Because remember, the people, in the Constitution it says we the people, and the people have the power and everything else, etc., etc. And that's all good and fine and dandy. The problem is, what happens when the people don't have any power to do anything about it and the government takes over? This is the exact reason why the founders were so adamant about the Second Amendment, and that it's very important that we keep our government honest. But we can't depend on the media anymore, and that's what I wanted to say. The media is now officially no longer your friend. Don't count on the media. If you see something on the media that sounds logical and reasonable, just remember that it's very likely not the truth. Or if it is, it's shaded truth. Even supposed facts. Anything they tell you today, they can just change tomorrow and say, oops, sorry, we just made a mistake. And you better pray that the media never goes after you, because look what they did in the Trayvon Martin case to George Zimmerman. The guy was doing everything right, and the police looked at the case and let it go and said, this is not an issue. This guy was doing the right thing. The media destroyed him. And now if he comes out without any charges, and he's washed clean by the stand your ground law, he'll never be able to walk the street again free because of what the media did. So there will be some lawsuits, and there will be some there's plenty of absolute evidence that there was a crime there, that the media truly broke some laws as far as protecting George's right to a fair trial. And I'm sure that'll all come out in the civil suit eventually, but in the meantime, we can't depend on our government to go after the media for these kind of things, because as far as I'm concerned, they're in cahoots. It's like the two are working together against us as the American people. And it all started right around the time Kennedy was assassinated. So you have to wonder what happened. How is it that the government and the media became best buddies after that? What happened? I don't know. We'll have to figure that out, I guess. Good talking to you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.